So I'm a massive loner and I always ride by myself. So when I use footage like this in my videos, I often get questions about it actually. Now, no surprise, I've used a 360-degree camera for a couple of years, and Insta360 actually got in touch to sponsor this one, which is really cool. Now, my wife bought me one of their early 360 cameras as a gift a couple of years ago, and at the time I was using a GoPro Hero 8 to get kind of B-roll and riding shots. So I didn't think I'd use it that much actually, but once I saw the kind of footage you could get out of this thing, I just kind of stopped using that GoPro entirely, and I've used this thing in nearly every episode since. It's just so much easier to get cool looking footage. So today, a quick look at their latest X4 360 camera, which is wicked. But importantly, I'm gonna show you how I kind of rig it up onto the bike and get shots like this, or this super easily. My name, as always, is Luke, and welcome back to Tracefellow. So the basis for mounting this X4 camera, it relies on this very standard tripod mount on the bottom. Well, the mount is used on basically every camera ever made, including the DSLR that I'm kind of shooting this episode on. But yeah, it screws directly into this selfie stick, for example, so pop that in there. And just this with the selfie stick is the basis for quite a lot of the shots that I use. Shots like this with the camera at kind of a 2/3 angle out in front, it's literally just me holding the camera on a stick under the bars next to the wheel, easy peasy. And because the camera is quite close to the ground, you get a decent feeling of speed, even though I'm not traveling very fast at all, really. Another common shot I use is this one where it kind of looks like I'm being followed by a drone. And to do that, it's literally just this. So selfie stick over the shoulder like so, riding with one hand. And yeah, if you look at the shadow, you can kind of tell that's just what it is. So yeah, no drama, pop it over your shoulder, boom. Drone type footage. Another one, if you take the selfie stick and kind of swing it down out in front of you as you're cycling along, it's a cool effect, kind of brings you into shot. But yeah, as with all these things, the selfie stick is completely invisible as well. So yeah, if I'm bombing around some country lanes or whatever and don't have to worry about traffic, I can kind of swing this thing around and get some cool shots. But what about actually rigging this thing up to the bike? Well, interestingly, I wasn't really aware of this until I started playing around with some of these angles, but this camera doesn't actually have to be that far away from you to look like it is. Let's take this trailing shot as an example. It kind of looks like the camera is about 2 meters away, but in reality, it's actually, let me turn the lights on. It's actually about here, maybe just above the rear wheel, and it's the sort of, let me turn the lights off. It's the same with these shots as well. It looks like the camera is quite far away, but in reality, it's pretty close. With this thing, it's all about the framing that you can do later on with the footage, right? And that's absolutely key for stuff like this where I'm navigating heavy traffic. Obviously, if I'm next to cars, I can't have a camera stuck 2-3 foot out the side, right? Nor can I like wave a pole around. I need both hands on the bike to kind of control it safely. But I can still pick up shots like this without this camera extending beyond the width of my handlebars actually. Again, it kind of looks like this thing is quite far out, right? But in reality, it's well within my footprint as a rider, so I can easily nip through standstill traffic without worrying about this thing kind of hitting anything beside me or getting knocked off or whatever. So yeah, obviously when I'm kind of navigating through traffic, I'm not holding onto the selfie stick, right? So here's the rigging. So yeah, I've got the extended selfie pole there with the camera on the end, and it's attached to the seat post here with this mount that's from Insta360. It's from their trailing mount kit, which I'll show you in a second. And then I've got this additional mount here. I got this on AliExpress or eBay, like, I don't know, a couple of years back for about 15, 20 quid, something like that. Although Insta360 also do one of these, and that kind of braces it against the bike. It's nice and secure, and if I show you, it's difficult to show, but it doesn't actually extend beyond the width of the handlebars or my shoulders as I'm riding along. Now this rig with these two mounts, it's actually the basis for quite a lot of the shots that I use on the bike because it's quite easy to kind of move it around. So for example, I'll take this clamp here, attach it to the end of the bars, have the selfie pole hanging down, and then use that clamp there to attach somewhere to the fork to kind of brace it. And then I'll have the camera down here and I can pick up shots like this looking up at me while I'm cycling along. Yeah, those ones are quite nice. So for trailing shots on the bike, like these ones, I used to have this really janky setup setup that I attached to the bike using these really. So I had a couple of cheap mounts from either AliExpress or eBay with this plastic one as well, and this really cheap selfie pole that wobbled around all over the place. And I tended to use it only on quiet country roads in case something came loose or went wrong. Well, it wouldn't cause any problems really. But luckily Insta360 now have a dedicated mount for this, and it's much, much better. So this is the trailing mount, and I've got the official Insta360 selfie pole, which is much, much better than the really wobbly one that I used to have. And then this mount that I've just showed you, so yeah, it clamps onto the seat post, and it threads directly into the selfie pole right here, so that keeps it nice and secure. But you get this additional mount here, so it attaches to the bottom of the saddle rails. These are oval saddle rails as well, fits absolutely fine, and then it clamps on here for additional support. This is really secure, looks really good, and you don't have to have the camera very far away to kind of make it look like it does, as I explained earlier. Plus, you can also move this clamp down here and then have the pole come up at an angle to get some interesting shots. So yeah, this is really versatile, actually nice and secure, and you can get some really interesting shots this way. And finally, the classic mounted to the handlebars, right? Hands-free. So yeah, I'm using it in this use case to kind of narrate to camera, but I know certain racers like Harry Mack use this style of mount and a 360 camera to capture his crit races, and yeah, his Instagram reels are absolutely bonkers, so definitely check him out. But yeah, it keeps everything really secure up front, nothing sticks out too far or wobbles around or anything, so this is a great option for really easily capturing some decent ride footage.
So this new mount comes in a road cycling bundle from Insta360. This one is for a standard bar and stem. You just remove the two lower bolts on the faceplate, and using some extended bolts and two of the spacers that come with it, you can get it attached no problem. They also do an identical one for an integrated cockpit as well, if you got one of those, so just sling it underneath with the two bolts, easy peasy. Worth noting too, you get mounts for Garmin, Wahoo, Brighton, whatever computer you have really.
But this X4 camera, it's the key, right? And it's genuinely really, really impressive. But I won't go into loads of detail on the specs and the features in this video because there are loads of other reviews that kind of do that much better. So I'll give you the headlines and the kind of bits that are important to me and my particular use case. So number one, this thing is waterproof and really rugged as well. I've already smacked it into the tarmac a couple of times and it's come off absolutely fine. The footage that you get out of it is crazy as well. I mean, it records up to 8K, which is ridiculous. So you can really zoom in and out and play around with the framing in post. I normally record everything in 5.7K actually, so slightly lower resolution, but with smaller file sizes as well. But the footage is still super crispy.
The stabilization is crazy good as well. I remember I had a GoPro Hero 3 back in the day. No stabilization. The footage would kind of shake all over the place. But here, buttery smooth. You can basically stick the camera where you want, hit record, and get some really clean, usable footage. The low light performance is also pretty impressive. I got these shots at about 8:30 PM a few weeks back while the sun was setting. And yeah, looks really nice in my opinion. The UI on the X4 is really intuitive as well. I like the prompts that they use on the menu items, so you don't need to look things up all the time. Now you can review footage quickly on the camera itself, but it is pretty limited. You can't zoom in and zoom out, for example. But on the Insta360 app, you can scrub through the footage and play around with it, add a color grade or add some metrics like speed without having to download it locally first, which is so useful.
I think the camera actually creates its own Wi-Fi network, which then your phone connects to through the app so that it can stream the data fast enough. But either way, it's incredibly impressive that you can get so much done on your phone without having to kind of download gigabytes of data locally to play with it. So yeah, you can get quite a lot done on the app actually, especially if you're dealing in kind of 9:16 vertical short form content, then yeah, you'll get it pretty much all done there. But I tend to do the majority of the edits on the desktop app, and it's a really clean, simple UI, so very straightforward to bring your footage in, kind of cut the bit you want, frame it up, color grade it if you want, and then just export it. Yeah, really, really straightforward workflow on that one. And it's never crashed on me, that desktop app, which is more than I can say for Premiere Pro anyway.
The battery life on the X4 is also really strong, and interestingly, the accessory ecosystem is vast, which sort of adds to the legitimacy in a way. Lens guards, backpack mount, dashcam mount, helmet mount, chest mount, car mount, vertical mount, screen protectors, dive case, mic adapter, even a cold shoe, and there are loads of others too. In fact, I use the mic adapter and the cold shoe for my setup. I use these Rode wireless mics, and it keeps the receiver out of the way right next to the camera, so it doesn't appear in shot either, which is really cool.
And I wanted to quickly show you the quality of the accessories is really, really high. So I used to always buy kind of cheap mounts to strap my GoPro to my bike. Ones like this, right? It's all made of plastic and it looks fine, but once you start clamping stuff down and get it secure, it always snaps. Like you can see that white residue from super glue where I've had to kind of glue this whole top piece back together. Same with these little mounts. I've had so many of these, right? And you can see all that glue on there because these just shatter once you start tightening them down. Even these ones, right, which are kind of made of cast aluminium. The original star knobs here to kind of tighten this whole assembly down, they stripped out after I tightened them down a few times. So yeah, both of these have had to be replaced. These, on the other hand, really, really nice. I mean, take this seat post clamp from that trailing mount that I showed you just now. It's basically all made of machined aluminium, and there's nice little touches like rubber pads adhered to where it's actually going to clamp onto your frame so you don't scuff up or mar the paintwork. You can even swap this rear piece out here with this one in case you're running a slightly more profiled aero seat post. I mean, this clamp here is from that same kit, all machined aluminium here, including this little tightening knob, and all the plastic bits are, they're really high quality glass fiber reinforced plastic, so it should be nice and durable. Kind of makes a change after dealing with all these cheap mounts in the past. And I've got to show you this quickly. So this is a wireless remote that you can get for this thing. So say this is attached to the back of the bike, right? I don't want to have to get on and off the bike the whole time to stop and start recording. So you can get this thing, and I'll show you. It's connected up to the camera, so it's almost like a smartwatch, and you can press this here. It connects to the camera and it gives you a live feed from the camera, so you can see me there. And can I wave? Yeah, look at that. So you can make sure your shot is set up properly, and then once you're in here, you can do things like change the resolution and the frame rate that you're working with, and you can also go in and change it from video to photo or whatever you want on the fly, and then you can hit this button on top, start recording or stop recording. Obviously no SD card in camera. But yeah, just in general, the accessories you can get for this thing are just a cut above standard. But honestly, this X4 with a few choice accessories, it's leveled up my ride-along footage from this, which I used to get with a GoPro and like a selfie stick, to this. I mean, it's bonkers really, the kind of quality and variety of footage you can get riding out and about by yourself. So yeah, if you're a solo creator like me, or maybe you just want to get some nice footage of you and your mates riding around, or maybe just riding by yourself like I always do. Then yeah, like I legitimately swear by this thing. It's an absolutely key bit of equipment for me to have and do what I do around here. So yeah, if you want to check them out, they've put a cycle bundle together actually. So you get the X4, this obligatory kind of extending selfie stick. You get some lens guards, one of those computer mounts that I showed you earlier to kind of attach the camera to the front of your bike. And you also get one of these, which is a kind of rubber lens cap cover that you put over the top. And that means that you can have this in your back pocket and kind of not worry about scuffing up the lenses. So yeah, pick up that, one or two other mounts, and you've basically got my outdoor filming setup. Also, quick one, the first 15 people to use my link in the description get some premium lens guards thrown in for free as well, which is cool. So yeah, enjoy. Anyway, I hope that helps you rig up some cool shots out and about on your bike, and massive thanks to Insta360 for kind of supporting. I was using their stuff for years prior to this partnership, and it feels like I have a sort of air of legitimacy around me now that I've got like Insta360 as a sponsor. Yeah, anyway, thanks for sticking with, and I'll see you next time. Ciao. Boop. It's the bonus clip time. This bike behind me, right? Some of you might remember at the end of the last episode, I mentioned that well, I had a problem with it. So I bought this from this company, OG Evkin, and when it got to me, it had clearly been damaged in shipping, and I found a small crack on one of the inner layers of carbon inside the down tube. So I had to go at fixing it. well, I guess more precisely, me and my brother had a go fixing it, and that episode will be up the next episode, I think, actually. But yeah, it did not go to plan at all. And to give you some idea of what the repair inside here might look like, because well, it's kind of roadworthy at the moment, so it appears to be holding. But to give you an idea of what this repair might look like, I'll show you this. So this is a frame that I got from a friend of mine that works at a local bike shop. It's a Cannondale that they had to warranty, so they had to chop the frame in half. So in the down tube here, we kind of put one of these carbon fiber patches. So this is the same sort of patch that we put inside this down tube, but obviously here we've got direct access, right? On this one, we only had access through this hole and this hole. So this is exactly the same sort of carbon and resin patch that we've got in the big frame up there, but obviously it was a lot easier to place this one and get everything nice and smooth. And I've attached this kind of popsicle stick on the end to kind of assess how strongly it's welded in there, and it is really well adhered. But yeah, things weren't quite as simple for this frame. Basically everything went wrong, and right now the fix appears to be holding, but I'm sure when some of you see the fix and the process we went through to get there, you'll I'm not sure you'll agree it's roadworthy. But yeah, really interesting episode. So tune in for that one, and I guess I'll see you then. Right, ciao.